Welcome to Ask Ms. ERP. The topic of this video is modify, customize, or extend your ERP. Hello everyone, Ms. ERP here. I am sure you have all heard the mantra, don't modify your ERP. Generally, it is a very good rule to follow, but as always, the real answer is, it depends. A lot of it is semantics, so let's clarify what I'm talking about. Modify to me means actually changing the vendor-supplied base code. Customize may also involve messing with the code, but for purposes of discussion, let's consider this to be using the vendor-supplied configurations to ensure the system is set up in an optimal way for your company. Individual users may also be able to customize their own personal displays to meet their preferences. The verb extend means to cause to cover a larger area. So in the context of an ERP or other enterprise application, extensions are adding some functionality to your ERP and are sometimes called bolt-ons. Starting with the easiest to discuss, customizations are really a standard offering now and are needed to make the systems your own. Your ERP or other enterprise application product should offer enough settings so that you can adjust things like languages available, decimals, field showing, colors, and other display settings, either at a system-wide or a user or group level. Likely, there are also ways to add your own fields or tables if you find something missing. Just make sure that anything that you do is supported by the product vendor. If they offer a setting that you can change, this is most likely true. Modifications are obviously the most dangerous of the three. With the increasing amount of cloud ERP offerings, you may not even be able to get at the code, which will definitely stop you from doing any mods, so they will become a non-issue. But perhaps you have an on-premise system or a hosted cloud solution, where you do still have access to your own version of the code. Should you touch it? If at all possible, no. But from my experience, many ERP systems are highly modified, which leads to all kinds of challenges. The biggest and most obvious one is that upgrades or patching will become much more complex and therefore costly. Some companies then avoid keeping their system code current, which will lead to support issues or problems interacting with new third-party product releases, browsers, for example. Many ERP products use proprietary code, which may require you to have specialized skills to create, support, maintain, or upgrade your modifications. As some of these products age, finding these specialized resources will become more difficult. Whether you already have a lot of modifications or are considering doing some new ones, I would highly recommend that you implement some strict governance to help you decide whether you really should be doing that mod or not. The first step would be to validate the business requirement. Wherever possible, the business should try and adjust their business process to use the ERP functionality as it is delivered. This is especially true for non-strategic business processes where there is no competitive advantage to being special. And let's face it, the majority of the back office processes that an ERP supports are not strategic. For critical business processes where a proposed modification has been validated as required, I would first talk to the product vendor and explain the business need. Ideally, they will agree to your request and add the required functionality to the base product. You may have to be patient for this to happen. If the gap in the system is great enough, perhaps you should consider integrating a best-of-breed system instead of doing the modification. This usually comes down to a cost-benefit analysis of the different options, and when doing the comparison, do not forget to account for the ongoing cost of maintaining the modification. If you have investigated all other possible alternatives and have determined that yes, you really do need to do a modification, there are usually many different ways to accomplish this. Your goal should be to do the mod in the least intrusive way possible. For example, rather than modifying a specific function extensively, You could create a piece of separate custom code and then just modify the base code to call your custom code. Another issue you may encounter will be that your product vendor may not provide the best of support if you have touched the code. A way to avoid this issue is to use what a clever developer that I used to work with called deselectable mods. Basically, this is to put an if statement around your custom code that will execute it or not based on a parameter. This way, you can turn your mod off to prove to the product vendor that it is not your modification causing the issue. If it is possible to clone the base code and do your modification there, that might be the best option so that you can leave the base code alone. This may not work in all cases, as it will depend on where that piece of code is used. You will also need to consider that you will have to review to see if any changes to the base object are required in your clone when you take a patch or upgrade to the base code. As a rule of thumb, if you cannot do a non-intrusive or deselectable mod in the base code, a clone would be a better way to go, based on my experience. My original message remains the same though. Modifications are to be avoided if at all possible. Extensions is a newer term that I have seen used more with cloud applications. Essentially, an extension is a way to take data out of your ERP system, manipulate it, and put it back, or to change it on the way out. For example, to add some special feature to your PO or invoice before it's sent out. While less intrusive, messing with your data outside of the vendor-provided code has an inherent risk, as you may not understand all of the interdependencies. I would still recommend doing a thorough investigation, if necessary working with your product vendor, to find a base product offered solution rather than creating an extension. But if needed, they are still preferable to a modification. Just make sure you understand the data interdependencies of whatever data you are manipulating. I hope this video has provided you some clarity around modifications, customizations, and extensions to help you ensure that your ERP or other enterprise application doesn't turn into a Franken system that cannot be easily supported or kept up to date. This concludes the Modify, Customize, or Extend Your ERP topic. There is a link on askmizerp.com to email me to ask questions or suggest topics for future videos. Or you can just add comments on any YouTube video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and see you on the next video.